Have you ever wondered how many work pass holders are here in Singapore? Actually, there's quite a lot. As of June 2022, the number of work pass holders makes up almost 1/3 of the Singapore population. Or in other words, if you throw a stone in a busy street in Singapore, there's a 1 in 3 chance that you will hit someone and the police will come after you. All jokes aside, how much exactly do you know about the different types of work pass in Singapore? You know, other than it has some quota thing or some minimum salary thing, in this video, I'll be explaining everything you need to know about the 3 most common work passes in Singapore, so that after this, you will know a bit more about our foreigner friends who are coming here to work. Also, a huge thank you to Awesome for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. With that being said, let's jump right in. Okay, before we go into the comparisons, here's a quick intro about what each of these work passes and what are they for. First up, we have the work permit. So this is for blue-collar workers such as people in the construction sector, manufacturing, marine shipyard, process or service sector to work in Singapore. Fun fact, that's just the work permit for what we call migrant workers. A less commonly known fact is that there's also other types of work permits, like work permit for migrant domestic worker, like your helpers, work permit for confinement nanny, and work permit for performing artists, each of them with a different set of requirements and duration. But for the purpose of this video, I will just focus on the most common type of work permit, aka work permit for migrant workers. Next, S-Pass. Here's a question. Do you know what the S stands for? You don't know, right? The answer is, actually I also don't know. I wasn't able to find any official definition by MOM, and different people call it different. Some call it short-term employment pass, others call it Singapore employment pass. But never mind, as long as we know that S-Pass is S-Pass, that's good enough. Anyway, S-Pass are for mid-level skilled workers whose pay starts from 3K and above. So it can be for people like entry-level jobs, waiters, chefs, and so on. Finally, we have Employment Pass, or also known as E-Pass. This is mainly for foreign professionals, managers, and executives whose pay starts from 5K and above. So if your boss is an Angmo and comes to Singapore to work, then it's very likely that he's on an employment pass. Now, there are a lot more work passes than just these 3. For example, the entry pass, which is for entrepreneurs to start a business here in Singapore, like our NAS Daily. Or the personalized employment pass, for people who are earning at least $18,000. What lah? But if we just look at the 3 most common work passes, currently, the number of work permit holders is about 1 million people, while E-Pass and S-Pass holders make up around 180K to 190K each. And together, they help to support and grow the Singapore economy. Quick pause. Starting a business may be difficult, but here's where Awesome can help out. Awesome is a digital business assistant that provides online secretary and accounting service to help you take care of all your company's finance staff, admin staff, and remind you to file company reports. Awesome has a useful app where you can manage your payments and invoices all in one place, so that you can spend more time on things that matter, like building your business. As a bonus, if you choose one of their packages, they will also help you to incorporate your business. So if you are looking to start your company today, you can check out the link in the description down below to get a free incorporation plus a 16% off your first year with Awesome. Next, let's talk about the eligibility, aka how would an employee qualify for the work passes. The first criteria is salary. As mentioned earlier, E-Pass holders need to have a minimum salary of 5K and above. For S-Pass is 3K, though the minimum salary will go up to $3,150 from September 2023 onwards, then 3.3K from September 2025 onwards. This is to ensure those coming in are of the right quality. As for work permit, there's no minimum salary, though there's some data that mention that construction workers typically earn about $800 a month, while other blue-collar jobs range from 1.5K to 3K a month. Next, qualifications. Both S-Pass and E-Pass holders need to have acceptable qualifications, like a good university degree, professional qualifications, or specialized skills. Whereas for work permit holders, there's no qualifications required in general. Instead, their eligibility depends on two things: age and country of origin. For the age, it's quite standard. The worker needs to be at least 18 years old to work here. Because, child labor is bad, yeah? As for country of origin, it depends on the sector that the business is in. For example, for the construction sector, only people from countries like Malaysia, China, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and North Asian countries will qualify. That's also why we don't see a random Amor working as a construction worker in Singapore. Then, for the service sector, only people from countries like Malaysia, China, and North Asian countries will qualify. Again, that's why you won't suddenly see a Bangladesh worker serving you food at Din Tai Fung. Though, that's going to change very soon, as starting from 1st September 2023, business will be able to employ migrant workers from non-traditional sources to work in a restricted set of occupations, like cooks in Indian restaurants or workers in food processing firms. Moving on, let's talk about the hiring quota and levy. For employment pass, there's no quota and there's no levy required. So a company can actually hire all their staff from overseas. According to the government, the reason that they are not imposing a quota is because they want to ensure the companies are able to access foreign professionals of the right quality while building up their local staff over time. However, in order to make it fairer for the locals, companies would first need to advertise the job to the locals for at least 14 days, after which they can only start to consider hiring foreigners. As for the S-Pass, there's a quota and levy requirements. If the company is in the service sector, like restaurants, hospitals, and schools, the quota will be 10% of the company's total workforce, and the levy will be $450 a month. Then for other sectors, it will be a 15% quota. The levy will be $450 for up to 10% of the workforce, and $650 for up to 15% of the workforce. So as you can see, it's actually not that cheap to hire a foreigner under the S-Pass. Yes, you can save a bit by not having to contribute up to 17% of their CPF, but instead, you have to pay a levy every month, which can easily add up to more than 20% of their pay. Finally, for work permit, the quota depends from sector to sector. For example, for the service sector, the quota is 35%, and the more work permit holders that the company has, the higher levy that they will have to pay, up to $800. Or for the construction sector, a business can hire 7 work permit holders for every local employee who earns something called the local qualifying salary, currently about $1,400 a month. And depending on which country the worker is from, the levy will be different. On top of that, the company has to buy a $5,000 security bond for every non-Malaysian worker that they have. So if everything goes smoothly and nothing bad happens, great! The company can get back the money after the worker has returned home. But if the company or the worker breaks any rule, the bond will be forfeited and the company will lose money. Next, let's talk about the duration for the passes. For employment pass, the pass will last up to 2 years for first-time candidates, then up to 3 years for every renewal. For both S-Pass and work permit, it's 2 years and the passes can be renewed, though the maximum period of employment can vary depending on the sector, country of origin, and the types of workers. For example, if the worker is from Malaysia, the worker can technically work all the way till 80 years old, as there's no maximum period of employment. But if the worker is from China and is a basic skilled worker, he or she can only work for up to 14 years. So those are some of the work passes available. Hopefully, you find that useful. But if you have any questions, you can join my fast-growing Telegram group to ask any questions that you may have. Like, share, and subscribe, as I'll be posting new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.